Hey guys, welcome back. This is Phil from underKG.com, and today we're going to learn pretty much everything about the iPhone XR. So this is what it looks like, just like the iPhone XS and the XS Max. This also has a notch on top, and on the rear you'll find vibrant colors, 6 of them that is. For me, those colors in real life weren't really that appealing. I really liked the yellow one. Blue wasn't really the color that I wanted, so if I had to choose, I would go for either yellow or white. And also comparing to the iPhone XS, this is a bit thicker with a different material, but not enough to annoy me that much. Rather, it was the weight. 194 grams of the weight that was a bit more excessive than I wanted it to be. And also the XR comes with the IP67 weather protection instead of the 68 provided with the rest of the phones. And also the bezels are a bit thicker, top, left, right, bottom. All of them are a bit thicker than the XS. By comparing those two devices side by side, they are noticeable, but once you get used to it and don't have a XS to compare it with, you'll be just fine. Another thing that you get less on the iPhone XR is the resolution. It's 828 by 1792, and in 2018 standard, that's a bit low, albeit having the same PPI from the iPhone 8. Again, it doesn't harm the overall experience, but there are sharper displays. The panel itself is fantastic though. It's super bright, getting up to 626 nits. It's very accurate in colors, and True Tone feature reads the surrounding and matches the color temperature to it. Of course, it still is an LCD panel, so the black isn't as black as the OLED one. There's no HDR support, and the viewing angle isn't as good as the OLED panel. Performance-wise, it's got the Apple A12 Bionic chipset, enabling everything faster, like the Face ID unlock right there, being the fastest chipset available in the market today. Unlike its pricier siblings with 4GB of RAM, it only has 3GB of RAM, but that didn't cause any problems for me. And unlike the other two, this doesn't come with 512GB of storage. The top one is 256GB. Being an Apple product, everything is really fast. Launching an app, closing that, launching another one, and switching between everything is really fast, just like it has been for the past few years. So you'll have to start playing 3D games to utilize its full potential, like Fortnite that only supports 60Hz gameplay with the 3 latest phones. Just like the XS and the XS Max, this also supports eSIM plus nano SIM dual SIM technology, so you can connect your phone into 2 different carriers as long as they support it. And China, Hong Kong, and Macau get special version with traditional nano SIM plus nano SIM layout. Software-wise, it's got iOS 12, which is one of the best versions in recent history. Overall, it's got good optimization and ton of features, including the screen time that records how much you use your phone and compare that to average, providing you with some self-control and content and privacy restrictions for your kids. The Photos app is also smarter. It recognizes the people in the photos and bundles those photos to ask you if you want to share those photos with them. One thing the XR lacks is a 3D touch, so you'll have to use something called the haptic touch, which is just a marketing name of long pressing, tapping, and holding it. Some features like the control center or the keyboard cursor works with the haptic touch, but the ones that overlap with long pressing, like the quick actions on the apps or the link preview, simply do not work. I can see that they tried, but it simply isn't the same. Moving on to the camera department, it's got single camera of 12 megapixels. One thing that is certain is that it's got better sensor than the predecessors, and naturally, it gets better photos. Photos turn out surprisingly well for most of the situations. They got great details, exposure control is good, and there is no shutter lag. The new technology called the Smart HDR really helps by combining multiple levels of photos. Competitors might have better hardware specs, but Apple really did a great job with its software. The lack of secondary camera does have some impacts though. Firstly, there's no 2x zoom. You're left to 5x digital zoom that will cause some loss in quality because it's digital. Secondly, software-enabled portrait mode works pretty nicely in most of situations, but it's got 4 problems. 1, it only works with humans. No food, no architecture, no pets, only humans. Number 2, due to the wide nature of the lens, you have to get close to the subject for the portrait mode, like really close. Number 3, you don't get all the effects. There's natural, studio, contour, but there's no stage and stage mono. Number 4, the bokeh isn't as noticeable as the one from the iPhone XS, probably because they don't want you to notice some hiccups on the edges because they're done through the software. In return, you get better details with less grains in low lighting conditions compared to the one with the dual lenses because their aperture is a lot slower. Thankfully, you get all the effects for the selfies, and this one also supports 4K 60fps for the back and Full HD 60fps for the front and stereo audio recording for both. And what about the audio department? Just like the other recent iPhones, this doesn't have the headphone jack either. And even worse, it doesn't even come with the adapter anymore. Thankfully, the stereo speakers are great. It's got good output, fine details, and enough bass for a phone. But something that I was truly happy with was the battery life. It gave me 8.5 hours to 9.5 hours of screen on time. This is better than any other iPhone, probably due to the lower resolution and relatively low power consumption for web browsing. As always, they bundled in the 5-watt charger that is painfully slow, taking 2 hours and 50 minutes to fully charge the battery. Of course, you can pay extra for USB-C based fast charger, and that is gonna save you an hour. Through the glass bag, it also supports fast wireless charging, but this also takes around 3 full hours. And now for the conclusion. The iPhone XR is an interesting device. Size-wise, it sits between the iPhone XS and the XS Max, while being even less equipped than the iPhone 8 Plus. Some parts, like lower resolution and thicker bezels, didn't bother me that much whilst being noticeable. Others, like lack of 3D touch and dual camera, thus no zoom and no advanced portrait mode, annoyed me more than I thought. This is a great phone. Incredible color accuracy, solid camera quality, easy to use software, and spectacular battery performance are only a few of the things that I love about it. Despite the limitations, if I had to choose an iPhone this year, it would be the XR over XS or the XS Max. I don't think the XR is a phone worth $749, but at $250 of saving, it seems like a pretty fair deal. The entire iPhone lineup is getting way too overpriced. I really don't think I want to pay $999 for a phone, let alone the $1099 for the bigger one. So that was the iPhone XR. I don't love it, I don't believe the pricing for this spec, but it still is the most reasonable one out of all three that Apple has to offer. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. You can always meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. We'll see you guys later.